Yo, what is going on YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we're going to be talking about spikes in Smite. I don't know why that sounded so weird. Spikes in Smite. Basically what it means, like what kind of spikes are there? How do you get the spikes? Stuff like that. This is just really like baseline level stuff to start exploiting like these big differences other than just, oh, I'm a higher level than this guy. Like, yeah, you're technically higher level than him, but are you really spiked that much harder? These words are so difficult. But that's what I'm explaining to you, starting with, God level spikes and then talking about item spikes later. We'll kind of go down the list and just talk about every role, different spikes that they can have, and then we'll go to specific gods in that class. Where do they spike? Why do they spike there? Stuff like that. Let's just jump right in. Starting with assassins, there's a bunch I could do. There's like the obvious one, Arachne at level 2. She spikes really hard because that's, you literally just farm for level 2 on Arachne and then you gank, and that's literally the strongest point in the game for you is that level 2. That is it. That is your peak. That's like an opportunity to be better than anyone else on the map. That's the Arachne one. But the one I really wanted to talk about was Set, because I wrote down a list of them and I wanted to get different levels for all of them, and I have a couple early game ones, so I wanted a mid game one. And Set's the mid game one that I want to talk about. So spikes for Set. Every time you get a level, your character spikes, but there's certain levels where when you hit it, you spike even harder than you normally would. And it's that spike when you become as strong as you possibly can, more than another character when they hit that level. Set's spike is level 14. A level 14 Set has maxed out Skewer, maxed out Spawn of Set, 1 point into Sandstorm, and 3 points into Kingslayer. Now, what makes Set level 14 so strong? His poke is insane. So he's got 90% scaling on his 1 that's 255 base on a 9-second cooldown. And this is with no cooldown actually in your kit or bot. Spawn of Set is 11-second cooldown, and it does an extra 70% of Skewer, and it's an 11-second cooldown. But you can have 2 of these. Sandstorm is a 15% damage mitigation for both magical and physical. You don't really care about the damage it's doing. That's not the reason for it. It's a defensive ability. And then Kingslayer is giving you 45 damage, 55 healing, 25% movement speed on a 90-second cooldown. You don't really get that much stronger after every level is set. Yes, you get a little bit more damage. Yes, you'll get more items, so your abilities do more. But this is the point in the game when you are as strong as you can be relative to somebody else who's also level 14 that isn't a character that spikes level 14. And there's obviously some characters that do spike at level 14. But for this little explanation, Set fighting somebody else who's level 14, we'll say any ADC, say on her. Level 14 on her, he's not spiking. His spike is in the early portion of the game. This point, Set is spiking with items probably, and he's spiking with levels. You're getting the most value you can from your 1, most value from your 2, a lot of value from your 3. Obviously, it's not most value because more points into it is the most value. And then a few points into your ult, 3 points to be exact, to be as strong as possible for this current point in the game. So Set's biggest spike is level 14. For Warriors, the one I want to talk about is Wukong. His spike is a spike that everybody else in the game has, but a Wukong that hits this level is nigh unkillable, and he's also going to do a lot of damage. And it's level 5. Yes, every character spikes at 5, but Wukong is just a different beast where you have a lot of damage. You have usually 2 points into your 1 or 2 points into your 2, each doing a lot of damage, low cooldowns. You're having a point into your 3 for safety, and then a point into your ult for safety, dive, just sustain if you need to use it, good trade potential with it, invading potential, stuff like that. It's also a way to get over walls. Wukong's level 5 is insane. You're also getting a few protections and power. Wukong actually gets a lot of base power. He gets 10 protections and 10 physical power below 60%. And then he's still getting another 7.5 power and 10 protections. So he's getting a lot of base stats just from his passive. He's getting a lot of damage values from his 1-2, safety in his 3, and then just a lot of potential with his ultimate. Yes, every character spikes at 5, but some characters spike a little bit harder. Well, not even actually every character. Gods like Uller Hell don't spike at all at level 5. They spike actually harder at like 4s and 6, where they get double points into some of their abilities. But every character with an actual ultimate ability spikes at 5. Wukong, though, at level 5 is one of the hardest spiking gods in the game. Like I said, I'm doing this for every specific class, just so you guys have an idea of certain spikes. Next one is Ares. And my favorite spike to talk about for Guardians is Ares, and it's level 3. And this is when you get 2 points into Shackles and 1 point into Searing Flesh. So when you get points into Searing Flesh, literally 1 point into this, you're doing all you need with this, which is grouping waves, and it's killing the minions. That's what it's doing. It's doing it exactly well. More points into this is good, obviously, but it does not matter all that much. And then 2 points into Shackles, you get double the god damage on Shackles when you put another point into this. This lasts 8 seconds if you do it perfectly. After 8 seconds, you'll be doing 160 damage. However, if you wait till you get a second point into this ability, you're going to be doing 320 damage base. Obviously, that's before protections and mitigations, so it's not going to be exactly 320. But You're doubling your damage when you get another point of this. Yes, you get another spike when you get bolster defenses, but your kill potential when the enemy is lowest is when they're level 3 and when you're level 3, because you have enough tankiness just from being a guardian. You have a lot of damage from shackles. You have a lot of just 2v2 trade potential because you can group the wave with Searing Flesh. And even if you don't like your kill potential, maybe you're playing into something else that fights really hard, then you have Searing Flesh just to clear. So level 3 is Ares' biggest spike. He is very, very strong at that point. Mages, it's a little bit harder to find spikes because it's like late game is where a lot of them spike. There's some Hades when he gets another 5 points into his 3, he becomes really strong. The one I'm talking about is Janus. And Janus' spike is level 20. He is permanently scaling and getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until level 20. And it's because every ability except his one scales with levels very well. Unstable Vortex, you get a lot more damage. 260 from level 1 to level 5. Your 3, you're getting a ton of additional scaling. The rift duration is going up a lot. The movement speed is going up a lot. And then on ultimate, you're getting magical penetration on top of a ton of damage. That entire time, passages, your passive, is going to be getting more power from more items. But this is true for a lot of mages where a lot of them spike at level 20. Another one is Scylla. She gets power every time she gets points into her abilities. I think her spike is actually level 12 when she has Sikkim maxed out, Crush maxed out, Sentinel, and I'm a Monster have 1 point into them. But I think her biggest spike where she gets even more power and more value is when she does get a point into every ability. But she spikes at 5. Sorry, she spikes at 9, 13, and then 19, 20, I think. I think that's how it is when you level correctly with Scylla. Or normally, I guess. But she spikes a little bit differently than a lot of gods. But yeah, Janus spikes to level 20 because that's when he gets the most value from his kit. A level 1 Janus is going to be having only Unstable Vortex, which is fine damage, but no actual help. Level 2, he's got a little bit of CC, but it's a skill shot and a little bit of safety. But if he gets blinked on, he's just dying before he can get it off. But Janus is spike level 20. And then lastly, another early game one. We're going to do Izanami. Her spike is probably one of the biggest in the game at level 1. Level 1, her trading potential is fine, but the strength of the character is fighting in waves early game before they can actually clear the wave. They have no gooseberries. They have no power in their items, so they don't really clear all that well. Izanami, on the other hand, is going to be clearing the entire wave almost right away. She's going to be autoing it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and the wave is dead. You auto the wave 4 times, and you maybe kill a minion. That is the strength of Izanami. She uses that pressure then to poke you out, maybe dash on you while she has the advantage with minions. But level 1 is when she spikes. She doesn't need to point into a single ability. If you load into Smite level 1, Izza would be one of the strongest characters. Or level 0, Izza would be one of the strongest characters. You load in level 1, she just gets a little slow, which is it's a nice slow, don't get me wrong. But it isn't kind of what makes the character that strong. It's just her complete early game. Level 1, obviously, because that's the earliest portion of the game you can be. Level 1, she can fight in wave better than anyone else. She clears wave better than anyone else. Now that Olo's kind of gotten nerfed. I was going to say Olo for mages because his level 1 was so OP with just 1 point into his 2, but they nerfed that, so I'm not bringing him up. I'm saying Izanami. Izanami's a very good god spike at level 1. Now, you know I was saying that there's level spikes in general. Level 5, you're getting a point into your ultimate, which nearly every character spikes with. Level 9, you're getting a maxed out ability, which nearly every character spikes with. 13, you get 2 abilities maxed out, nearly every character spikes with. And then 19 and 20, you get the other 2 abilities maxed out with. You get more value from them. You just kind of have to think of your character and think about when they are strongest. You can go down the list of every single god and you can talk about their strongest spike. Yes, some gods are good at all points in the game, but you have to really think about the character like, okay, when does this character really become the strongest? If you're thinking about Tsukuyomi, his late game is good, yes. Actually, we'll take it when Aegis was out of the game. His late game was absolutely busted when Aegis was out of the game, when SPL had the Aegis bug, so they removed Aegis, and we got to watch Tsukuyomi actually just run the game. And it's because he had so much damage in that late game, where if you made it to that point, he was killing anyone. But if you think about Tsukuyomi right now, yes, his late game is good, but a lot of times he's just getting Aegis'd out late game. I think one of his strongest points in the game is that level 13-ish area, where his 1 and his 3 are maxed out. He's got 3 points into his ult, and then his Kusarigama has got 1 point into it. He's got a ton of poke at that point, a ton of damage from 1-3, and a decent amount of safety and damage and chase potential with Piercing Moonlight. But you kind of just have to think about it. Yes, that's a spike, but he also does have a little bit of a spike late game just because of how much damage output and poke he has. But certain characters spike at different points of the game, and you kind of have to consider that. If I'm playing Tsukuyomi and I'm level 13, but they have a level 15, Serket, who's a god that spikes early game, she's still going to be able to outduel me just because she has so many levels. But if we're both level 13, obviously depending, because she's just a 1v1 character, that is a fight you can win. It is a fight that is winnable for you because of how much damage and poke potential you are getting. She cannot actually get on top of you if you just keep your distance and poke her out and don't take the 1v1 and play around team fights. And then she's forced to play around team fights. But that is just a bunch of specifics. I didn't want to get too much into specifics. I just wanted to talk about God power spikes for the most part. And then I want to talk about item power spikes. And I want to talk about it for every single role also. Every role spikes a different portion of the game. Usually this is how it goes. Assassins are early game. Guardians are early game. Solos are usually mid game. Okay, don't kill me for saying solos are like mid game, because they're early game also, but mid game is when they can actually rotate, and it's not like mid game level 20. Mid game is like level 9 to 13, 14, 15, that area. That's when solos have defense to deal with both the enemy backliners, and then they can just blink in and kind of just get off a bunch of damage. But warriors are also very good early game, just saying. And then hunters and mages also are late game characters. So that's kind of like the output of all the characters. If you think about a Devs ADC versus an Aussie ADC, those items are spiking completely different. Aussie is spiking as soon as you finish it. Devs is spiking once you finish stacking. It's not a good spike right away. It's actually a very bad spike right away. Let's look at Devs as just an outright item. Devs has an outright item, 0 stacks, nothing else, 30 power, 10 lifesteal. Not a good item. That's 2,400 gold for that. But once you get stacks online, you get more power, you get some flat pen, and you get a little bit of that lifesteal. Devs becomes a lot more strong. And comparing it to Aussie, Aussie's right away as soon as you finish it, exactly 2,400 gold, 45 power, 12% lifesteal, 20% attack speed, an additional lifesteal, and you get below 60% health. That's also the same in support. Yes, Thebes is probably the best support item in the game. But once you immediately finish Sov versus immediately finishing Thebes, it is night and day difference how much better Sov is, giving 50 protections to yourself, 15 to allies, HP 5 to yourself and to allies, health to yourself, obviously not to allies, and then Gauntlet of Thieves is just health and just HP 5. It is no protections until you get stacked. This is a way to kind of exploit them having Thieves and you having Sov. That's why we saw a little bit of a Sov meta when duo lane played super early game, and by duo, more supports played super early game. Sov was rushed a lot because of how much early game meant in duo lane, and then once it was figured out that, oh, this early game doesn't matter that much, if they buy Sov, kind of give it to them for a little bit, we'll get our Thebes online, and then we'll get our second item, and then second item, Thebes into any other second item with Thebes finish stacking is going to be stronger. Sov Shoguns, it's strong, yes, but Thebes Shoguns is stronger. Thebes Sov is stronger. Thebes Pridwin is stronger. Thebes, like, Relic Dagger is even stronger. So there's just these item spikes that you also have to play around. There's items in solo lane. Prophetic is an item that's really heavily bought in solo lane now. What's an item that's compared? Let's just do Spirit's Robe. Even though you kind of build them at different points. Prophetic spikes, I mean, okay, to give you some protections, health, cooldown. But it's really when you get the item actually stacked, it's when it becomes super powerful. Prophetic, right away, 25, 25, 100, 10% cooldown, and then you get stacks. Ignoring the stacks, it's not a very good item. You compare it to Spirit's Robe, outright Spirit's Robe is just a better item. But once you get those stacks online, you're just getting that passive from Spirit's Robe at all points in the game if you meet the prot requirement, which usually you do if you're building this item. But Spirit's Robe, as soon as you finish it, like both solo laners, one rushed cloak, one rushed Spirit's Robe, the Spirit's Robe player is going to be out-dueling the Prophetic Cloak player, but you have to play around your spikes. If you're building Cloak, you don't have to win this early game fight. You can wait till you get some Cloak stacks online and then take the fight. The last one I really want to touch on, because it is really important to the current meta, is Soul Leader and Jotuns. For good measure, we'll toss in Trans too. These three items are three options that junglers have currently. They're probably the most bought. Some buy Trans, not a ton though. Most are buying Soul Leader and Jotuns. When you think about Trans and what it's supposed to do, it is a power cooldown item. That's what it does. Jotuns, on the other hand, is power cooldown and flat pen. Soul Eater is power, cooldown, flat pen, lifesteal. Yes, the power is less. Yes, the cooldown is less. Yes, the power is less than the Transcendence, but you're getting flat pen and you're getting additional cooldown. These items are going to be spiking differently. Trans is a unique stacking item where you actually get a lot of value from it as soon as you finish, or as soon as you buy it. And it's not an item you have to like, oh, I've got this item now, I need to farm up. Yes, you can farm up. Yes, you're going to be stronger once you get it stacked, but it's really not like a Devs. There's value right away once you finish stacking this item, or before you even finish stacking. A level 1 Pele with just Trans gets 72 power from the item. All right, 37 power from the item. I read the basic attack. 37 power. So this is 37 power, 300 mana, 10 MP5. So right away, as soon as you finish this item, you're getting more power than Jotuns. You're just not getting the cooldown. But Trans is only a power item early. Doesn't give any cooldown, doesn't give any flat pen, doesn't give any lifesteal like Soul Eater does. And that's why we don't really see a ton of Transcendence. It's not spiking badly early game, but why are you delaying that early portion of the game to finish stacking Trans, which is also more expensive, so you're not even getting your item online earlier? It's just not worth it. And then you compare Soul Eater and Jotuns. Soul Eater is also an item where, yes, you want to get it stacked, but do you really care to get it stacked? No, you can fight early game with this. Power, lifesteal, pen, cooldown right away. Jotuns also, power, cooldown, pen right away. Yes, you're not getting the lifesteal from it, but Soul Eater's cheaper. That's why you kind of see this back and forth between Jotuns and Soul Eater. Some build Jotuns first because they care slightly more about that early portion. Some build Soul Eater first where they care to get the stacks online and then go for the Jotun spike next. And then once they're finished stacking with Soul Eater and they have the Jotuns finished, that's when they want to fight. But the Jotuns players want to fight when their Jotuns is done a lot more than the Soul Eater players do because those stacks matter, but they don't matter as much as some other stacking items. I hope that made sense. I kind of ranted a little bit. I hope I explained kind of spikes, power spikes, item spikes, god spikes as best as I could. Well, I did explain it as best as I could, but I hope it was understandable. I hope it was something you guys could pick up. You could pick up on and start kind of dissecting your own games and looking at your 2v2 and being able to see, like, should we win this? Should we lose this? It is obvious once you start to understand it and look at it and realize the reason of why you lost something or why you won something. But before you get told about it, it is a lot harder to understand. So I hope this is like that first step for you guys. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.